It's been said that there's a role in diet in regulating hormones like estrogen and insulin. How does this relate to the prevention of hormonally sensitive cancers such as breast and prostate cancer?
It's what we've somewhat been talking about so far, even in this interview with all of us today, because one thing is that when you regulate body fat, you regulate your production of these hormones like insulin and estrogen, because excess body fat doesn't just make for insulin resistance, it also drives aromatase to produce more estrogen. So one thing that's the biggest, so what we eat, which then affects the body fat, and because body fat is poorly perfused tissue, it spews out more pro-inflammatory substances, cytokines, lipokines, that activate the aromatase production of estrogen. So we do modulate estrogen, and we also modulate insulin and estrogen simultaneously. At the same time, keeping animal protein low, we're keeping insulin-like growth factor 1 low as well to have the triad of low hormones. And as Brenda just said, excess calories also drives up insulin and IGF-1, just overeating. So we have overeating, we have body fat, and we also have phytochemical exposure and exercise. So all these things combined affects our hormones, mTOR, SIRT1, AMP kinase, all of these longevity proteins that stabilize our stem cells. All these things get in a favorable range, and it's really what happens when you eat an American-style diet, that you discombobulate all these protective mechanisms, and then you have hormonally sensitive cancers that get promoted. And we mentioned earlier, the lignins in our diet. We have high lignin diets, as Matt pointed out, how they're processed by bacteria in the gut to have protective compounds that also protect us, our tissues, against excessive hormonal stimulation. And also mushrooms have tremendous anti-aromatase and anti-angiogenic effects too. So the food and soy products have isoflavones that are so interesting because they block estrogen stimulation of breast and prostate tissue, yet they stimulate the E2 receptors on bones and muscles to help us keep our bones and muscles strong as we age. So the diet that we're all recommending with all these individual features collectively adds this degree of hormonal protection.
I think another source of hormonal imbalance comes in the dairy products that people are consuming these days. My uncle's dairy farm in the 1950s, when a cow was fertile, we'd lock her up in a stanchion, and the breeder guy would come in and ram a tube of bull semen into her uterus, and she would conceive. And if she had been giving milk, she dried up, she stopped lactating. Pregnant mammals stop lactating in general. Well, we only had 49 cows. My uncle would pull out the notebook, bossy number 16, won't give milk till she has her calf in the spring, and that's just biology. Well, in today's modern dairy operations are milking 1,000 cows or more twice a day. They can't afford to have their best milkers go offline for 9 months while they're carrying their next calf. So they've genetically modified the American dairy herd and most of around the world. And so now the cows will give milk even though they're pregnant with their next calf. They're carrying their next baby. They're still sucking milk off these large pregnant bovines. And as any woman who's been pregnant will tell you, when you're pregnant, your whole body is filled with estrogens, makes your breasts big and your hair grow. But it gets into the milk, gets into your breast glands, gets into the milk. And so these are not the puny little phytoestrogens in soy. These are official mammalian estrogens. This is estrone, estradiol, estriol, pregnenolone, progesterone. And it's been shown when people are given glasses of whole milk, testosterone levels fall because of all the estrogens. Estrogen levels rise. And the epidemiologic studies show that not only do women who consume lots of dairy products get more breast lumps, if they have a breast cancer or a uterine cancer, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. It can really accelerate the growth. And estrogens make the prostate gland unstable. And the men who eat the most dairy get the most prostate cancers. The more cheese and dairy a boy eats, the higher his risk of prostate cancer when he becomes a man. So all the way around, our diet is riven with estrogens, both from what we're generating ourselves in obese bodies, as well as coming in the food. So a whole food plant-based diet makes both of these problems melt away. And so, and there's so many good things now to pour in your cereal, so many good plant milks. There's the vegan cheeses and ice creams and yogurts. They're treats. They're not healthy foods there, but no one really needs to be eating the products that come out of the udder of a cow. It's filled with things you don't need, including all the estrogens.
On the note of prostate cancer, there was a publication from the Adventist Health Study 2, which I'm sure everyone on this call is familiar with, where they looked at Seventh-day Adventists across North America, and they actually looked at both dairy and soy consumption and prostate cancer. And they found that that specific swap of swapping out, say, your dairy milk for soy milk was associated with a reduction in prostate cancer risk. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact percentage or magnitude of reduction, but it was a consistent finding there. And then we also see with soy milk, as Dr. Fuhrman had mentioned, because of the way that the phytoestrogens interact with estrogen receptors in the breast tissue, they actually tend to reduce risk of breast cancer. And this is something that's actually appreciated by the Canadian Cancer Society, by the American Cancer Society, even noting that in people with a history of breast cancer, soy consumption tends to be protective in the long term as far as risk of mortality or recurrence of breast cancer. So pretty much across the board, we're seeing that soy consumption is quite beneficial in these cases.